he feels like a jerk, and he wants to go back and make it right as quick as he can. But it used to be I had to say, I don't think, I think you're very insensitive. I don't think you understand, and I thought that was incredibly rude, and I just don't see how anybody could, and I just was, I was a nag. To be totally honest, I was unfortunately quite the nag, and I never realized it. In my mind, I was just being helpful, but helpful in wife language turns out is criticism in husband language.
What about physical abuse in a marriage or a relationship?
Oh, yeah. Well, there are 3 divorces. I call them the divorce I endorse. And one would be, it's any time you're not safe. Of course, you've got to get out. So physical abuse is, of course, a big red flag, and you just need to get to safety, absolutely. The next one is if a man is just not capable of being faithful to you, and that's another situation where you're just not safe. The third one is a man who's actively addicted to just one of these 3 things, only these 3. And it's drugs, alcohol, or gambling. Addicted, like he's got a problem, not just he has beers after work or he likes to go to Vegas now and then, but really has an addiction to them. Again, that's going to create a situation of unsafety, and I recommend that you get out. But the good news, Rob, is that if your husband's not one of those 3 guys, then he's a good man. Not a perfect guy, but one that you can have a really wonderful relationship with.
Is it possible for a husband to buy your book, The Surrendered Wife, and put it into his context? Because there are a lot of ladies out there who are abusive, who are physically abusive, mentally abusive, psychologically abusive, financially abusive, sexually abusive. And
that's right.
The men have this bad rap that, they handle everything. And, it's unfortunate, but in today's society, according to some experts, you're looking at a 50-50 separation when it comes to physical abuse.
Oh, yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so let me just say, Rob, I'm doing my part. Now, I wrote my book from my own experience and the experience of my clients. And really, I don't have any experience being a husband. So I don't feel like I have any authority to tell them anything that they could do. But I do have this wonderful transformation I experienced in my own relationship and that I've watched. I've now had the privilege of watching over 50,000 women revitalize the intimacy in their relationships. I know, right? What marriage counselor can say that? And I don't have any of those credentials. We took a very, it wasn't a laboratory approach to this work. It was just a very, in the trenches approach. We needed it to work. And so it was done in real marriages with real women. And so we've seen the results that are proven over and over again.
Fascinating. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You recommend the husband always should be in control of finances. Why?
I do.
Why?
Well, because when you first start dating, usually the husband or the husband-to-be, the man, is wooing the woman, and he's treating her to movies or coffee or ice cream or whatever it is. And this feels wonderful to both parties because he's really showing her a good time and showing he can cherish her, and she feels cherished and cared for. So what I've seen is that when the wife controls the finances, a lot of times she's saying to her husband, hey, don't take any more than $20 out of the ATM machine, or don't use that credit card. You have to use the other credit card because we get points on it. And you always end up, unfortunately, in a kind of a motherly role there, right, where you're handing him his allowance, and it just doesn't feel as good as being taken care of. So today, for instance, my husband handles all the finances for us, and when we go out, I don't even bring my purse because I know he's going to treat, and he's treating out of our joint account that I contribute to too. But it's just so much fun to have him take me out to dinner, and I thank him, and it's romantic. So for me, it was just a huge improvement. And we've also seen that when men are more connected to the finances for their family, they tend to prosper a bit more because they're more connected to what they're providing for their families. They're not just the worker bees handing over the paycheck to the wife. They can see, like, oh, if I put in a little bit of overtime, we can have a nicer vacation. Or if I put in a little overtime, my wife can get that dress she wants. Or if I win the sales contest at work. Or so we see them getting promotions and starting their own businesses and having more success.
My Laura, handles all our finances.
I hear you. Well, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying
we've
it's bad.
you know we've been very successful. Our company
Yes, you have.
is doing fantastic. I've got great staff, and my goal is to do for my family, do for my staff, and I have nothing against going out and having Laura pay for my supper.
Well, absolutely. And so if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it, Rob. So I say more power to you. As I said earlier, I really admire what you and Laura have built. And, oh, my gosh, I stand in awe of that. You've beat all the odds, and you have been very successful on many levels. Mm-hmm. But money is one of the top reasons that people separate and divorce. There's a lot of people that don't have as much success with it as you have.
Is it possible that there's a trust factor?
Well, there is a trust factor. I know for me, I didn't want to give up the control of the money to my husband because it was partly because I kind of always had my running shoes on, right? I wasn't happy in our relationship, and I just wanted to feel like if I needed to go get an attorney and get a divorce, I'd know how to put my hands on the money. And so that's no basis to have a great, intimate, passionate, peaceful relationship. And it wasn't until I really stepped up and found my faith instead of operating in my fear that I was able to create the kind of intimacy that I wanted. And honestly, it was pretty terrifying.
We have to take our news break now. When we come back, I'd like you to give our listeners who may be having marital problems some of your tips. Maybe we can help somebody out tonight. How does that sound?
Love to. Thanks.
Exo Nation, my guest this hour is Laura Doyle. She's the author of The Surrendered Wife. Her website is www.lauradoyle.org. That's LauraDoyle.org. And Laura and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media networks, X Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And you're listening to us on the X Zone Radio Broadcast Network, the X Zone TV Network, and Sirius Satellite Network, and many other terrestrial broadcasters around this great world of ours. We'll be back. Don't go away. Are you considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X Zone Radio Show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Joyce with Stargazing for the X Zone for the week of April 28th. The sun will look like a ring of fire above some remote parts of the southern hemisphere on Tuesday during a solar eclipse, but most people around the world won't get a chance to see it. Whereas lunar eclipses occur when there's a full moon, the solar eclipse only happens during a new moon. Half the world saw the blood moon lunar eclipse during the full moon of April 15th. Tuesday's eclipse will occur when the moon is closest to its farthest distance from the Earth, making it too small to cover the sun completely. The resulting effect looks like a ring of fire called an annulus, and that appears as a silhouette around the moon. Remember, when there's a new moon, there's no moon at all. The worldly application of a Taurus solar eclipse is to help you get in touch with your core values. It blocks out personal ego desires to go right to what your inner spirit wants to manifest. The opportunity is to bring higher values and greater beauty into your life now. The new moon and solar eclipse on Tuesday may send the world into a mild tizzy. Watch North Korea and the Ukraine for major upsets with government. But you will get another opportunity to consolidate whatever advantages you have gained over the past few months. A Taurus new moon is excellent for putting practical effort into your needs and desires. Health and wellness options get a boost early in the week, perhaps prompting you to consider a new diet or exercise routine. There's also positive news on the work front, as changes can mean a boost in earnings or a promotion. If you've been applying for a new job, you may get some good news. Later, Venus glides into Aries, which brings romance and pleasure. Look, your love life is looking much livelier. Enjoy a few social outings. It might help take your mind off some more stressful matters. Perhaps you want to make some changes in your home, new furniture, paint, whatever. Whatever comes your way, you'll probably put a lot of energy into it, so focus and accomplish what you want. Because there's lots of planets in unmovable signs, Taurus and Scorpio, as May opens on Thursday, be careful of stubborn my way or the highway thinking. Warrior Mars is still retrograde until May 19th. Consider what is dead in your life and needs to be released. Know that your highest path is shown if you go into your inner self to seek direction. Continue with hard work early in the week, and then make time for a variety of fun as the month of April ends under a Gemini moon. Gemini wants to keep things on the move, talk to a lot of people, and does not get bogged down in any one thing. Enjoy May Day and the Kentucky Derby on Sunday. Time to plan for some summer fun.
For more information about stargazing, or if you'd like to get a one-on-one consultation with Elizabeth Joyce, visit her website at www.new-visions.com. Explanation, my guest this hour is Laura Doyle. She's the author of The Surrendered Wife. Her website is www.lauradoyle.org. And Laura, what kind of tips do you have for our listeners to have a better relationship? Because I'm sure there are people listening to us tonight who are saying, I need help.
Yeah, well, one of the most exciting things, one of the most powerful things I learned from the happily married women was that husbands need respect. It's really important to them. It's like oxygen for husbands to have their wives' respect. And I knew that, but I just didn't really understand what respect meant. For instance, he might come home from work and start complaining about his boss and say, oh, I'm going to tell my boss this and that and the other. And I would get scared and think, oh, you can't do that. You're going to lose your job. And so I would interrupt and say, well, now, that's probably not a smart thing to say. And he felt like not only was I not really listening to him, but I was being pretty disrespectful and just not letting him vent. So one of the magical phrases I've learned that I rely on heavily in all my relationships now is this one: I hear you. So instead of agreeing or disagreeing, I'm just giving him the gift of truly listening to what he's saying. And it makes him feel respected, and it also helps to create emotional safety, so he'll open up and share about things that he really cares about, which really contributes to a sense of feeling connected.
That's a real good idea. Now,
everybody wants to be heard.
Yeah. Once again, communication, two-way street. You have to listen as well as put your point across. In today's society, with all the new age gadgets, and we're talking about tweeting, and we're talking about Facebook, so on and so forth, what influences have you found these social networks to be when it comes to marriage breakdown?
Well, absolutely. We read in the news all the time about how Facebook can help somebody connect with an old high school sweetheart or something and can really cause a big upset in the marriage. But I think for me, it's less about Facebook and more about what's going on inside that marriage, because the way you speak of your wife as your best friend really speaks volumes about how good that relationship is. So I get the feeling there's really just no room for somebody else to squeeze in on that twosome you've got there. And that's